with your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella, and I bet you can guess what day it is.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Hump day?
That is not right at all. It is a Friday. But the hump day button sounded really cool right there. We just wanted the camel saying, guess what day it is? It's Friday. So I hope the people are excited. That is the unofficial start of the weekend. So we hope we can get you ready for that unofficial start of the weekend. We're going to talk a little bit of Major League Baseball today because there's a lot of parity with a month and a half left in the season. And a lot of teams, by definition, are alive. Okay, we could probably eliminate 5 or 6 of the 23 I have written down, but at the end of the day, there are almost 23 teams that still have a chance to make the postseason. I watched the Chiefs Kingdom yesterday on ESPN, and I have a straight off the Rome there, which is where we will start today, and we will finish today, continuing our 32 teams in 32 days. We'll be talking the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you want to get in on the show at any point in time, youtube.com/12OZ Sports, and you can comment live, and it pops up on the screen for us to have a nice discussion. The Rome Show 1. That's The Rome Show and the number 1. Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. Follow the social media. Finally, The Rome Show podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Let's get this thing going here, people. Straight off the Rome. So last night, I am getting myself prepared for The Rome Show. And the ESPN documentary on the Chiefs from the beginning of the 2024 season begins to play. I believe it's called The Kingdom, okay? And this is essentially what I took it as, like an HBO Hard Knocks on ESPN following the Chiefs prior to the 2024 season as they were getting prepared to try and be the only team in National Football League history to three-peat as Super Bowl champions. As we all know, since we've seen history happen, the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl last season, so that was not able to happen. But this Chiefs Kingdom is an inside look into the Kansas City Chiefs. And by the way, outside of what I'm going to talk about, a lot of the other things that go on this show are really, really cool. All right. And if you're somebody that likes the insight into professional organizations, or you like the Hard Knocksy type stuff, Rocky from Rocky's Rundowns and Hockey with Rocky, back next week, he's on vacation this week, was a big fan of 24/7, which used to tail the two teams that we're going to play in the Outdoor Classic in the National Hockey League. If you're a fan of that stuff, this is a really cool show. Okay? But that's not why I'm here to talk about the show. Patrick Mahomes, in the 30 minutes I watched last night, said something that I feel like is a really dangerous place to be as an organization. And it's a catch-22. Because you're only in this place as an organization because you are championship caliber right now, because you are the best or one of the best teams in your sport at the current moment, and you are winning a lot. And Patrick Mahomes said it is a failure this year if we do not win the Super Bowl. So the reporter essentially said, what is success to you this season? And Patrick Mahomes said, winning the Super Bowl. And she said, what is failure? And Patrick Mahomes said, not winning the Super Bowl. He said, there's only one goal in mind, and that's winning the Super Bowl. And if not, it's a failure. And I caution the standards in Kansas City when those things start to get said. Because for the last 25 years, I have watched the New York Yankees franchise and the New York Yankees fan live by that motto. And it almost feels like they've entered purgatory as a fan. Because it is impossible to win a championship every season. Hell, it's almost impossible to go back to the championship every season, though we've seen that happen more times than a lot of other things, i.e. the Bills, who went 4 straight years and couldn't win one, i.e. the current iteration of the Chiefs that have gone to 3 straight, okay? But that's a dangerous place to be if you're a Chiefs fan. It's a dangerous standard to set if you're Patrick Mahomes. Now, obviously, it is the right thing to say. Obviously, it is the standard, right? Like, you're not starting the professional football season as the Kansas City Chiefs and you're like, man, I really hope we make the postseason. No, obviously not. You're good enough to the point where your standards have moved past that. So now the goals you set for yourself might be more lofty than the Tennessee Titans, who were 3-14 last year and are truthfully just trying to compete for a playoff spot, let alone compete for a championship. But when I heard this out of Patrick Mahomes' mouth last night, I really said to myself, that is a cautious place to be. Because in 5 years, when there's no more Andy Reid, or 10 years, when there's no more Andy Reid, there's no more Travis Kelce, there's no more Patrick Mahomes. It's a completely different looking franchise and organization. You're going to be looking at success and failure differently. And of course, where the Chiefs are at now, 2 Super Bowls in a row, we're 60 minutes away from winning a 3rd in a row and doing something nobody's ever done in NFL history. Yeah. Of course, it makes sense that their goals are lofty. But what happened to the Yankees over the course of the 90s and early 2000s, we are still seeing the residual effect of today. There is not a Yankees fan, there's not a person associated with the Yankees that can really, truly appreciate how good this team has been over the last 15 years because they aren't winning a championship. This is a team that made the World Series last year. And I'm not here to talk about their flaws, how bad they are defensively, that their head coach probably, or their manager is probably not the answer. Is their general manager still the right person for the job? That's not the conversation I'm getting into. The conversation I'm getting into is the standard you're setting for your organization. That is unrealistic because over the course of 8 years, the Kansas City Chiefs are a dynasty. They're the best team in football. Their standard should be to win a Super Bowl. But over the course of 25 years, and you look back and you go, damn, they only won 3 Super Bowls in 25 years. It's like, that's like really hard. There are franchises with 0 in 100 years. So that standard of championship or failure is a very dangerous place to enter. And I'm not saying that you don't not talk about that in your building. I'm not saying that when Patrick Mahomes is sitting at his locker with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, they can't have a combo about like, yo, listen, man, like we weren't even that, we felt like we weren't even as good last year and we made it to our 3rd straight Super Bowl. Like we should be winning the bowl this year. If we don't, I'm not satisfied. If you want to have that conversation in the locker room, it's a different animal. But to set that tone in the public eye, to set the tone from the best players, from the franchise's top down, that it's championship or bust, though in this moment, every fan loves to hear it, that's not an ideal standard. That's a dangerous place to be. And this could be something that's just on my mind, but listening to the Yankees fan on a daily basis for the last how many years that I've been listening to sports talk radio that when they get to an ALCS or they get to the World Series last year or they simply just make the postseason, it's never good enough. And if you go back to the era of Derek Jeter, that was the standard that was set. And it's not the wrong standard for Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada, Joe Torre in the group. That's not the wrong standard for them. But when you bring that standard to the fans, to the public, to the people that pay the money to watch you play and live and die on every pitch, that is a dangerous standard to set for your fans. Because now you're starting a path of never satisfied. Because if you do what the Yankees have done since 2005, they've only won one World Series in that 20-year span, and they've been to two. So you set the standard in the early 2000s and late 90s. It's championship or bust. It's either you win the World Series or the season's a failure. Well, 20 years later, you're looking at it and you're going, I think they've only missed the playoffs like one or two times. But they have only won one World Series, and they've only been to two. And to the Yankees fan, that's atrocious. That is gross. And that's a scary place to be. So to finish straight off the Rome today, Friday, August 15th, if you're an athlete, a high-level athlete, a franchise cornerstone player, and your franchise is in the midst of really good, okay? And Patrick Mahomes even says it on the documentary. I know how lucky I am right now with how talented this Chiefs team is. I'm really trying to enjoy being in this moment. It's like, yeah, you don't know how long it's going to last, right? But the championship or bust mentality coming out of the primary player's mouth is a dangerous place and a dangerous path to send fans down. Let me say this. Did you ever hear that out of the Patriots' mouth? Like, of course, Tom Brady was always talking about winning the Super Bowl. But you never heard Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and all of those guys, Teddy Bruschi, they never were in pressers going, what a failure of a season because we lost in the Super Bowl. No, what they were saying is this was a failed game. Okay? We believe we're the best team in this league. We believe we should win this Lombardi. We failed in this game. We're going to come back next year and figure out how to get to this game again and then win it. So, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I would avoid that terminology, championship or bust, championship or bust, championship or bust. Because in 10 years, call me when Mahomes isn't there anymore, Reed's not there anymore, Travis Kelce isn't there anymore. And I could be wrong too here. This could be the next iteration of the Patriots for the next 22 years. Okay? But even still then, they didn't win a Super Bowl every year. So was half of Tom Brady's seasons and Bill Belichick's seasons a failure? No, of course not. And there's probably a reason there's sustained success for them, because once they started to win, it wasn't a conversation of setting these recklessly lofty expectations. It was just keep getting better at the things we're not good at so we could hopefully stay on this mountain as long as possible. Championship or failure season, not a good place to be if you're a fan. Great place to be is here with the Rome Show every morning at 7 a.m. Want to remind the people before the commercial break that starting September 2nd, the Rome Show will still be airing on YouTube, still be airing on Facebook, and still be airing on X. However, you will have to find it in a slightly different location. So here's what you need to do. You need to subscribe to the Romanellas on YouTube. Super simple. The Romanellas on YouTube. Subscribe. The Rome Show will start going live there on September 2nd. Then, which you should already have done if you're an avid Romo sapien, the Rome Show 1, that would be in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, on X and Facebook, of course, but then also on other social media sites so that you can stay live on the other sites as well. We will be transitioning to those locations come September 2nd. But like always, we'll retweet the live show on my personal Twitter, on the Rome Show Twitter. We'll get it up on the Facebook, which we currently do now. So really, you're going to the same places. Just a few names might change here or there. I'm not going to make a change. I'm staying with you right now for the rest of this show, even through this commercial break, which you need to do for me as well. Because when we get back, we talk Major League Baseball and 32 teams in 32 days. Andrew Romanella, The Rome Show. Back after this.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Yeah, it is. Music got bounced there. Bluetooth disconnected during the commercial break, but we make it work. Welcome back. The Rome Show, 12ouncesports.com. Andrew Romanella with you for the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. We just got back from a commercial break. If you missed the first part of the show, the Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure you're locked in on the podcast. And like I said before the commercial break, subscribe to the Romanellas on YouTube so you can stay up to date with all the latest in the Rome Show, including our change coming in September. Same great Rome Show, just a slightly new location. Let's get into Major League Baseball. I've been talking about how there's a lot of parity in baseball, and I did a little bit of research on the statistics last night, and even though my New York Metropolitans lost 2 out of 3 to the lowly Atlanta Braves and continue their atrocious baseball play and have now only won 2 games of their last 14, I had to start looking at other things to really gain some enjoyment from Major League Baseball. And I noticed that there's a lot of teams still in play. We'll take a look at the wild card to start. So in the American League, as it currently stands, there are 4 teams within 5 games of the third wild card spot, 5 teams within 5.5 games, and 6 teams within 7 games of the third wild card spot. Now, a lot of teams have roughly between 25 and 35, quick guesstimate, amount of games left. So for me, 6, 7 games out of a wild card spot is the last bit of a line right now. Okay, you're getting close to Philadelphia Phillies, New York Mets, 2007 or 8, whatever year that was, collapse. 9 games with like 18 left or something like that. But it is baseball. And much like we're watching with the Mets and the Yankees right now, and on the flip side, the Brewers, 3 weeks can change your entire season, especially if it's the best 3 weeks of your year. So that's the AL. So 6 teams are within 7 games of that third wild card spot. Then when you look at the 3 wild card teams, the Mariners are wild card 1, the Red Sox are wild card 2, and the Yankees are wild card 3. They are separated between 2.5 games, all 3 of them. So as easily as right now, the Yankees could be out of the playoffs or wild card 3 is as easily as the Yankees could be wild card number 1. To finish in the AL, the Blue Jays, they lead the American League East with a 5-game lead over the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox, to my point earlier, were that team, okay? They trade a disgruntled first baseman, which a lot of people thought was a bad idea. And look at the Red Sox now and look at the Giants now. What a difference getting Rafael Devers out of that locker room is. And it proves to you that one player can be a major difference on a team, regardless of the player or the team, or how good or bad the team is. The Yankees are 6.5 back of the AL East. The Tigers, they lead the AL Central by 6.5 on the Cleveland Guardians. Guardians have been playing some really good baseball as of late. They're 6.5 back of the Tigers. The Royals, they're one of those teams that has over 60 wins. They're 60-61, but their chances in the division are not there because of how good the Tigers have been. However, the Royals, they're 4 games out of a wild card spot, so still alive. Then finally, the AL West, the Astros, they have a 1.5 lead on the Mariners, who have a 6.5 game lead for the second spot on the Rangers. The Rangers are 61-61. So again, a scenario where they may not be players for the division, but they are currently 3.5 out of the third wild card spot. When you look into the National League, all right, you have 5 teams within 6 games of wild card number 3. A lot of teams available. Then you have the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Cubs holding the 3 wild card spots right now, separated by a total of 4.5 games. The tightest race in the NL right now is sandwiched between everything we just talked about, with the Mets at 64-57 and playing really bad baseball in the third wild card spot, and the Cincinnati Reds at 64-58, a half game behind the Metropolitans, playing some really good baseball, half a game out of the postseason. 22.5 games currently separates, 0.5 games, read my language wrong. Here's the final stat I have for the people today on Major League Baseball. When you look at the league as a totality in 2025, there are 23 teams that have 57 or more victories in the win column. Why do I tell you that? Is because if you look at the Minnesota Twins, they're 57-64. So they're 7 games under 500, and they're 7 games out of the wild card 3 spot. That 57 game number right now essentially puts you at a slightly below 500 team, but you're not atrocious. 23 teams have at least 57 wins. That tells you a lot about the parity in the league. And though we've talked a lot early in the year about the Rockies being bad, they do have 32 victories right now, so they're not as really bad as we thought. And the White Sox, who were atrocious last year, have 44 wins this year. There are only 3 teams below the 50 win mark in Major League Baseball. To me, that is a great sign. That, to me, can be a year-to-year improvement. You can, if appropriately handled, be the Pittsburgh Pirates and go from 51-71, then at this time next year be 61-61. But it also means that there's competition. It also means that as baseball always goes, any given night, anyone can beat anyone. But with 23 teams winning 57 or more games, there really isn't many series where you can go into it saying, man, we are significantly better than this team. Of course, you're better than teams. That's obvious. That's sports in general. But a lot more parity than I realized would be in Major League Baseball during the 2025 season. All right, let's finish this thing with 32 teams in 22 days. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, led by new head coach Liam Cohen and fifth-year quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Let's break down the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC South. The first key, look no further than their new head coach Liam Cohen. If you don't remember the story on this guy, Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, okay? And so you can't really talk poorly on what he did in Tampa Bay. We talked about the Bucs already and Baker Mayfield having 4,500 passing yards last year and 41 touchdowns. Liam Cohen, a huge reason for that. But is he a good enough head coach? The way he left Tampa Bay, find the Rome Show podcast, where I listen to the podcast, because I crushed this guy a little bit when he left Tampa Bay for the way he left Tampa Bay. He was possibly getting scouted to be a head coach. Tampa Bay gave him a raise. They thought he was staying. All of a sudden, he decided to go to Jacksonville. I hated his press conference. Like, I'm not a pro athlete, and I felt uncomfortable thinking this guy's my head coach now. And that's how he acted at his first presser. This is how he acted with his old organization. But this is football, and in football, we do a really good job of throwing away the things that piss us off or make a person bad if they can make our football team better. So first and foremost is, will Liam Cohen be able to take his offensive prowess to Jacksonville, but at the same time, will he be a good enough head coach? Because if that guy is really bad in his first year as a head coach, you might be seeing a total blow up of the Jacksonville Jaguars come the end of the 2025 season. Secondly, what the hell is going to be Trevor Lawrence at quarterback? You drafted this guy first overall, and here's some numbers that stick out to me about the lack of success Trevor Lawrence has had in the National Football League. 2 of Trevor Lawrence's 4 seasons have had over 4,000 passing yards. Not what we're looking for a quarterback in this era of football. 2 of Trevor Lawrence's first 4 seasons have had 14 plus interceptions on the docket. Not good what you're looking for your franchise quarterback. And only one time in 4 seasons in the National Football League has Trevor Lawrence thrown 25 or more touchdowns, and that was 25 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, and that was his sophomore season in the National Football League. Plus, he only played 10 games last year for the Jags because of injury. This is put up or shut up time season for Trevor Lawrence. There's no other way to put it. He was drafted first overall. He was supposed to be the savior. He was supposed to be the guy in Jacksonville. Hell, they changed their stadium for him at one point last year because of the endorsement deal he had with somebody down there. And he was atrocious. There's a 0% chance he's lived up to his hype, okay? I think you're on territory of another bad season for Trevor Lawrence. Is he a bust category? I'm not making that statement yet. I'm not calling that. I'm not saying it. It's not a hot take yet, but are you trending in that direction? You could be. Huge season for Trevor Lawrence. A lot of new faces. Number 3. What does that look like, especially defensively? Starting with, well, both sides of the ball with this guy, but just starting with Travis Hunter, okay? You took him 2nd overall this year. Currently, he is a starting wide receiver. He's the 2nd depth cornerback, but nonetheless, Travis Hunter was the start of your youth movement in the draft and in free agency. You just got to put all of those things together. Is Etienne Jr. even still a good running back? What type of weapons are we going to have on the outside? Is this defense going to be good enough? Because last year they were 31st in the league in points per game at 29.7, 31st in the league in passing yards given up at 270.9, 31st in the league in total yards given up at 382.6, and 28th in the league in rushing yards. They had no front 4 at 132.6. So no matter what, their defense was the worst in the league last year. Like, there was not many worse than them last year. And there's a lot of new faces on that side of the ball. So what does that tell me about the Jacksonville Jaguars? I don't know how good, what the ceiling is on 2025. I don't think it's more than 7 wins. But I think that the basement, the floor, could be fighting for a win or two. I could be being extreme, but there's a lot of change in Jacksonville and a lot of question marks. And maybe they're lucky, and maybe every single question mark hits in a positive way this year, but I just don't know if I can see that in Jacksonville. I'm going to predict the Jags at 5-12 this season. I think that some question marks are good. I think Trevor Lawrence isn't a bust. I think Travis Hunter is going to be a solid NFL player, and there are some other pieces there. Plus, despite what I think about Liam Cohen, unless he's an absolute travesty of a head coach, which he probably shouldn't be, I think that they'll be okay based on what they had last year in Doug Peterson. So that's my Jacksonville Jaguars rundown. Ladies and gentlemen, join us every single day as we trek towards the start of National Football League season. We break down a new team in a division to get you right. You know, before the show started today, I was doing a lot of rundown on my fantasy running backs, trying to figure out who should I keep in my league, who am I going to want to draft. You know, obviously we're a two-player keeper. So, you know, you're like, all right, if I keep this guy, I lose a 10th round draft pick, but his efficiency on that is really good. But if I keep this guy, I lose a 4th round draft pick. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, all right, well, I should probably keep a running back and a wide receiver. Okay. So I know I have a running back and a wide receiver on my roster that I believe I want to play. Right. And then draft another running back, like a legitimate one in the 1st round, and then a legitimate tight end in the 2nd round. Because tight ends, if you get a top 5 tight end in this league, is much like a top 15 wide receiver in this league. So my thought process is, you know, I have a chance to keep Tyrone Tracy Jr. of the Giants. I kind of want to do that. Had 1,000 yards receiving and rushing last year. So if he's keep him for a 4th round running back, and I can get insert Jahmyr Gibbs here in the 1st round, and then inserts, I don't know, Travis Kelce or a top tight end here in the 2nd round. And now I start to piecemeal together other really pretty good wide receivers. That's what I'm thinking. So I was looking at the fantasy this morning. I was like, you know, man, there's so much to break down when the football season comes back around. If you're like a fantasy person and then you're a pick 'em each week person, and then you just have a team that you need to watch, there's a lot going on. So the Rome Show, hopefully making that easier for you. Hut. Brian Tompkins, thank you for your write-in. I'll see you on the golf course in a few hours. We're looking to go under today, Brian. Under today. -1s and -2s for the people. That's the Rome Show, ladies and gentlemen. 12ouncesports.com. Broadcasting live on YouTube and X. Thank you for everybody who tunes in. Enjoy your weekend. We're back next week
with your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping